Hello, I'm not sure whether I can start or not.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Eva. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Melinda?
I'm doing great, thank you. So yes, I really apologize for the late. So due to some speakers not availability, and they have joined the session 5 to 10 minutes, and some have some technical problems. So yes, sometimes technology will trouble us. So thank you so much for your patience. So before you start your presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction about you to the audience. So, yes, welcome on stage, Dr. Eva J. Klepzik. So, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
That's good.
thank you. So, she is a leader in healthcare analytics, recognized for her contributions to medicine and drug development. She received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award in 2023 and the PMSA Lifetime Achievement Award in 2024. With nearly 2 decades of experience, she enhances healthcare data quality, benefiting pharmaceutical and biotech organizations. She speaks at industry conferences and contributes to scholarly publications. She mentors aspiring data analysts, especially women, and has earned several awards, including Rising Star and Luminary. She serves on the Community Cancer Council and the University of Mainz Advisory Board. She holds a doctorate from Virginia Tech and resides in Lansdale, PA, with her husband. So thank you so much. That was really a great introduction. So yes, you can start your presentation.
Sure, absolutely. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Give me a moment. Oh, I have it here. Oh, let's see what you can see. Oh, perfect. We can see it. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. How are you? I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to shift a little bit and actually talk more about, as we're talking about women in male-dominated arena. I want to talk about a little bit about the syndrome, the imposter syndrome that many of us actually face. So, imposter syndrome is a syndrome that many women often experience and really struggle with, especially as they are going through their careers. So, what it is, first of all, imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where an individual doubts their accomplishments, and it really provides a persistent fear or feeling like someone is gonna find out that you do not know something. Many women, especially in the executive positions, are fearing this. I always trying to find out or to always thinking that someone is gonna identify that they are not as good as they actually are. And just so everyone knows, this has nothing to do with anyone's skill sets or experience. It's more about the internal fight that we all have when we are entering arenas where we might be the only woman in the room, where we might be in a male dominated organization where we continuously have to present ourselves as better than anyone else. So, as we are talking about imposter syndrome, I think the most important is thinking about some of the factors that contribute. I already talked to you about executive positions, male-dominated industries, but it's also societal expectations. Many women are to be always the mothers, the workers, the cleaners, the caregivers, and I think the expectations of having multiple jobs and multiple I guess, functions within the family as well as work creates a lot of the angst and ultimately self-doubt. Furthermore, any of the stereotypes, people thinking that the woman cannot be an astronaut or a pilot or a soldier or anything like that. I think over the years recently we've been accommodating and breaking the ceiling, but it is still something that many women, including myself, we all struggle with it, not understanding how do we deal with that. And then, so if you're thinking about who experiences that, it's pretty much across, but you can start more seeing more and more women in the executive positions feeling that. A recent Forbes publication from March 2023 identified that 75% of women in executive roles experience pretty much daily imposter syndrome, which is somewhat frightening, and also it presents that we have a lot of work that we need to get done. So let's talk briefly about what are the different types of imposter syndrome. I already told you what imposter syndrome is. It's a way for continuously doubting your own experiences and whether you can succeed somewhere. But there are also different types of imposter syndrome, and each of us might be having one or two, or can be going through our lives entering the different type. So first of all, especially when we are starting up our careers, we tend to be perfectionists, and we know individuals younger who wanna everything needs to be done well, or we know individuals who always want to have everything done well, regardless of what stage in their careers are, and that actually creates a somewhat of a shortfall for them because they're not able to move and say enough is enough, and they can never meet timelines, and they can never really produce anything. And I think that is sometimes a place where we have to say, okay, today it's going to be enough to do X, and be okay with it, because if we think about it, most people will not even recognize that it isn't our 100%, whatever we might think that might be. Many women especially are struggling with the superwomen. I already started talking about it. It's feeling like we have to do everything. We go to work for 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours, come back, and we do it all over again in their own households, because we believe we have to take care of the kids, we have to cook, we have to clean, do laundry, we have to take care of our parents. It's everyone around. And I think that is the juggling of multiple jobs and functions within our personal home and professional lives. That's what creates it, ultimately making it that maybe we are not succeeding in any of them as a result of that. The next one is the expert. And as you climb the ladder more, as you get more experience in education and you get go higher up, we tend to become the experts. And understanding that, thinking that we need to know everything. As a professional woman, especially as an executive in a male-dominated industry, I learned very quickly that I will not know everything. I will never know everything, especially if it talks about technology and analytics. It's just not enough. There's not enough time to even read about things to learn how technology is changing. What was new yesterday, it's and all the news today. So it's just changing at the pace that is very difficult to keep up. However, if you surround yourself, you understand where your blind spots are. You can really help yourself and ultimately improve any of the gaps and the lack of experience that you might have in different areas. And finally, the expert and the soloist, which is the next one that I want to talk about, tend to go together. People don't realize that you cannot be expert in everything, but you also cannot be soloist. It is, someone once told me, well, it's easier to do it myself than train someone else. The problem is if you only do it by yourself and then you ask and train others, then A, you will never be able to move up, but B, you will always be the person that knows everything, can do everything, but do you really move or progress? You will always have to be doing it by yourself to prove anything, but very often you won't be able to go up in the structure ladder or achieve what you need. So overall, we always have to think about it. Sometimes being good enough is good enough. Sometimes not being able to get something done, not be a superwoman or superman, it's good enough. Sometimes not knowing everything and surrounding yourself with people who know, it's great. And sometimes not doing everything by yourself is even better. So what does it lead, especially for women, as we are thinking about climbing the ladder? Very often, the imposter syndrome can have an impact on us, and there's fewer things. First of all, inability to join leadership positions. That is an important thing, because if you are always the hero, if you're always everything has to be perfect and you're the expert and you're as a soloist, no one wants anyone like that on the leadership. You have to be able to work and know where your gaps are, and that's why leaders are surrounding themselves with everyone who has other skills that they don't have. At least the wage gap, because you are really becoming only one threat per individual. While you think you know everything, you ultimately only know one thing. And then finally, it's limited ability for self-advocacy. We have to be rounded. We have to understand where we are headed, especially as we're going in male-dominated areas and for leadership positions. We have to understand that just being one good thing or knowing one good thing, it's not enough anymore. The effects of all of these aspects and feeling the imposter syndrome can lead to mental health. And we talk about it a lot, especially for women. We as women never take care of ourselves. That's why you see a lot of coaches right now talking about it. I see a lot of health professionals talk about it. A lot of, I guess, series and seminars are being created on this. We experience a lot of stress, anxiety, and ultimately burnout. In 2023, several very high level, very well known executives from large organizations stepped down and decided that they had horrible burnout because they were trying to do everything because they felt that the expectation was so high on them. So, how do we overcome it? This requires, like everything else, a changing of your perspective and giving yourself a little bit of a break. So, first of all, acknowledge and normalize. We cannot be all for everyone. Sometimes you cannot, there is nothing you can do how others will perceive you. However, if you give yourself a break and you understand that certain things will be falling in and you have to be good enough is good enough and you cannot accomplish everything, I think that gives a little bit of a mental a break and mental power, and ultimately removing you from that from the arena of those high expectations. And I'm not saying not to have high expectations, but understanding where the limits are and what can you accomplish and what is really reasonable and within the space. The next thing is mentorship and support. We very often don't talk about it, especially women are not the best in supporting each other. I say it's not only leave that proverbial ladder behind, but spend the time with the younger women, challenge them, be tough on them, but be also supportive of them, listen to them, share your experiences, and talk to them and talk about your problems. Make sure that others realize, as you're acknowledging your own pitfalls, that others realize that they are not the only ones, because most likely they are feeling the same thing. Learn a little bit more about the cognitive behavioral therapy, and this is where many of the psychologists can help us. Going to therapy is nothing wrong with it. I think everyone should realize, whether you are going to yoga, whether you're going to meet with a coach or going to a professional, it is really needed to help us with thinking through some of the thoughts, creating strategies to address them, and verbalizing them. We all need to verbalize and remove those negative thoughts. The next thing is, which I think most women don't really do and support each other, is in celebrating achievements. I joined in recently. I was at a couple conferences where what I really loved is that where every single woman called each other a queen, and it sounds very proverbial. However, it was to recognize the status that each of the women being there were. And I think we need to celebrate each other in a way that helps us move forward, celebrate the achievements. And clearly, we should do that the same for our sons, for our daughters, for everyone, but especially for women, knowing that someone else is doing something, even if it's small, give them the hand up, say congratulations, say a nice thing. And I think then you're gonna really inspire them to move to the next level. And for all of us women, we have to redefine failure. Failure, there's no such a thing as failure. I was reading a book recently and it said that whatever happened yesterday, you have no impact on it. So why do you worry? Why do you call it a failure? The good news is today and tomorrow you can change it. And I think we always have to understand what we did wrong. As I always say, go and sleep and cry on it, because we women need to cry sometimes. Cry on it, but the next day when you wake up, you go and you correct it. And also normalize failure, meaning it's not that you doesn't mean that you to succeed. It's more that you tried, you did your best, and you learn and you pivot from where you need to go next. Many individuals, I was listening to someone say something, I was listening to a podcast, it was about building wealth. And one of the advisors, financial advisors, said that if more people, this is related to wealth, if more people just stick with it for a little bit longer, they would have more than they think. And it really stuck with me. I think is that failure that we all fear. It's the not meeting someone's expectations, whether they are good, bad, or indifferent. So how do we build self-confidence and self-esteem? I already talked to you about the help, the support, whether it's professional or your friends or organizations where you can join. But I think it also starts with us. The hardest critic is within us. Imposter syndrome will not be eliminated or at least diminished if we don't start with ourselves. So, first of all, positive affirmations, self talk. Look in the mirror and say everything that you want to say. That is nice, that is kind to yourself. Have self compassion. We are so quick to give compassion to other people and say it's okay, you're gonna do better. It's okay if you didn't meet this or didn't meet that. But do we do it for ourselves? So every time something happens to you, ask yourself, if someone else did that, would you be kind to them or not? And if you say yes, I would be kind, then extend the same kindness to yourself. Extend it and say, you know what, it's okay. And if you want to cry, if you want to do something to make sure that the stress comes out from you, allow yourself to do this. And then finally, understand what the skills are that you require. You cannot move up if you don't have certain skills. What are these? Now you can go to school anywhere you want. You can have any master classes you want. You can go on LinkedIn and other platforms and learn anything and everything you want. You can listen to a podcast. You can go to different websites and see what people are posting. And I think allow those skills to be developed. Talk to people who are successful in the profession that you are in, and understand what did they do and how did they did it. If you have positive thoughts, if you really truly are compassionate for yourself and you continuously develop, I don't think there's any boundaries that you cannot overcome. So how do we foster a supportive environment? And this goes back more to organizations. And I have 4 minutes left before I have to finish and move on to my own work, but I just want to briefly talk about that. Promoting inclusivity. It's very important that we do this. Bring people with different perspectives. If you're only included or you surround yourself with people who think like you, there is no way of growing. But B, there's also no way of realizing that would you consider a failure? Some people will consider as the biggest gift that they have. I think having these diverse perspectives really grounds you and allows you to rebalance yourself. Training and awareness. Create in our jobs, or if you're working with someone, different training sessions, workshops and so forth, to raise awareness about the imposter syndrome, but also help deal with it. If when I did this presentation at my own company, many people didn't, they've heard the term but they didn't know what it was. It allowed, by speaking to them, that's and introducing this concept, then they will realize, oh my goodness, I just felt inadequate. Oh, I felt inadequate yesterday or today in today's meeting or whatever that might be. And then finally, feedback culture. We can't grow without feedback. And sometimes the feedback will be harsher than we would like. But someone once told me, feedback is a gift. Sometimes you hear the feedback, you might not like it, take it, you might not be happy with it, but grow on it, think about it. What do they say? You don't have to take anything that everyone is telling you. However, very often, if someone gives you feedback, and again, if it's with a good intention, even if it's harsh or is somewhat of a difficult one to take, someone gives you a mirror. That mirror is the biggest gift that you can do. And I would say, yes, in your own lives, in your own work, in your work environment, find someone who is a mirror for you, who can give you the feedback and say, by the way, this is how you're projecting yourself. By the way, this is what you're doing. And that can really help you. So as we are thinking about being in a male-dominated organizations or industries, being in climbing the ladder, doesn't matter what it is that you're trying to accomplish, imposter symptom syndrome will impact you. Whether you like it or not, it will impact you. It's really understanding what it is, working collectively, talking to the people you trust, surrounding yourself with positivity, and changing how you're thinking about your own failures is going to help. Empower yourself, allow yourself to fail, and take the failure as not as a failure, but more as a just step up. You are you will fail because that's what needs to happen in order to get better, and ultimately be as kind as you can to yourself. Give yourself a break occasionally, because otherwise it will be a very long trip if you don't do that. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I truly appreciate it. Unfortunately, I don't have time because I have to head to a meeting. But if anyone would like anything, please reach out to me. My email address is ewakleckzyk16@gmail.com. Happy to correspond with anyone that would like. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eva, for the wonderful presentation today. I know you are running out of time. Sorry, I apologize for that. So yes, if anyone have questions to Eva, so you can just email to her email address so that she can respond you. Thank you for
Awesome.
joining and have a nice
Thank you
day.
so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.